The Empty Chair. I wonder how we would react if at all our meetings there was an empty chair. Would we look away or possibly turn and stare? But why would we bother with an empty chair if all it does is elicit a stare? Can an empty chair speak or convey thought? Or is it just empty and thus should never have been brought? But what if the chair was an unspoken vet? Could we ignore his presence without feeling regret? It's a powerful thing, the empty chair. It doesn't have to speak, but we know it's there. As the chair can't speak, it has no choice but to rely on us to become its voice. We have on my right, your left, is an empty chair, and we want to do a quick presentation, very informal, but our class president is going to drape the empty chair with the poem that we all read earlier. So if you wouldn't mind, out of respect and as you're thinking about a veteran, please stand. Thank you, Sarah, and please be seated. It's personal. For me, the empty chair is personal. You're seeing on the screen right now my grandfather. This is Lieutenant Colonel Abraham Wayshak. Wayshak, the name that I bear. He enlisted into World War II. He did this little thing unknown, worked with photography back then. And aerial photography was not something that we did. He would earn a battlefield commission, and he would go on to map the North Pole. And in his generation, not pictured, is his brother, my great uncle Charlie. He would fly over Italy in Patton's Third Army. After his generation, my father. My father was a KC-135 navigator. He's on the far right of this picture, and this happens to be taken in Utapao, Thailand, where he would fight in the Vietnam War. And not pictured in my father's generation was his brother, my Uncle George, who would fly helicopters in Vietnam. And then me. So I would fly during Desert Storm, and I would be at the same exact base in Utapao, Thailand, 20 years later. In this picture, you see me flying the KC-135, and then you also see me in pilot training. And not pictured is my brother Vincent. He jumped out of perfectly good airplanes, although now he's disabled because of a hard landing. My brother Chris, who was in Baghdad a week before you and I saw Saddam Hussein's statue come down. And my brother Daniel as well, who was also involved in the Desert Storm. Here's my son, Michael. Michael's graduating from his AIT. I want you to pay attention in this picture because I want you to see all of the other kids that are graduating with him. And not pictured here is his brother, David. David also would be in Korea, where he was an Army intelligence person, and he was working with intelligence services over there. And so this is my son, Jake. Jake is earning his wings for having jumped out of perfectly good airplanes. And he said, Dad, there's no such thing as a perfectly good Air Force airplane. And I said, that's okay. At least I have the same number of takeoffs and landings than you do. What's notable here is he's receiving what is called the blood wings. They take the frogs off the back and somebody smacks it. Remember earlier I said my brother Vincent was not pictured? This is my brother Vincent. He also is a jump master, and he's personally given Jake his blood wings. So it's personal for me. And these are my grandchildren, Anastasia, Victoria, and Elias. So 4 generations of my family have worn our nation's uniform. And what's going to happen is the next generation is going to have to wear our nation's uniform. And it's personal for me. And it's personal for you also. Because not pictured here are your children and your grandchildren who one day will sit in our veterans' empty chair. So when we are here today, we're going to focus on that chair. It's going to remain here all week. We're going to focus on the veteran that's not with us, because we know at the end of the day, it's the veteran that brings us here and allows us to be made and kept free. Thank you very much.